Uh, so obviously, I mean, I just mentioned the boogeyman, but like talk about terrifying movies. With scary movies, it's always kind of like a level of we as the audience either know when a jump is coming and we're like, this isn't scary, or we're terrified the entire time, which is kind of the deal here. And so for you both, what was the draw of like getting to play in this genre and bring a horror and thriller film to life in the way that kind of still keeps modern day audiences on the edge of their seats?
Oh, good question. That's a really good question. I appreciate that. Do you want me, I can start, Luke, and then I'll hand it off to you.
Definitely. Yeah, you go.
Sure. So it's funny that you asked that because I never intended Follow Her to be a horror film. It's just landed in the horror world. And so even in the first screenings that we did of it, I mean, we're on set, and so nothing is scary for us watching, obviously. So you don't know how the scares are gonna land. And so talking to audiences and hearing how scared they actually are throughout was surprising to me. And it's just an added bonus. I'm like, great. Because it's not traditional jump scares in it. There's a couple moments, but otherwise it's more about the tension and the really it was more about this like cat and mouse game between myself and Luke's character. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it too. I like that it isn't about a monster or anything, that like it's really tension created between two people and you just don't know what he wants. And that's what's scary. Like, what is this guy doing? And that's what that tension and that question, like, what's he up to? That's what keeps it scary. And I think that's so fun to play with. As an actor, because it's, it's usually like some makeup or something that makes people scared. But this is just tension created by people.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I think it's in the trailer, but the line that's like, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but the thing about social, like
Yeah, you
social media
social
people.
media stars are, I think you're, what is it, Luke?
You social media stars, you think you're so
Special?
so special.
No, it's not
So interesting or something.
Yeah, I've only heard it a billion times.
I mean, yeah, you would know better than I would. I've only seen the movie 3 times. You've seen it many times.
Well, it's funny though, because it's very funny though, because when I was like getting ready for this and like they were asking me about it, I was like, oh, I know Luke Cook. I see his TikToks. So I do think it is very funny that I was like, for a movie that is like kind of playing into like that aspect of the world as a whole. I'm like, yeah, one of the stars I know because I sit on TikTok at night and I'm like, oh yeah, there he is. And just like keep watching videos.
Know.
But
yeah, it's kind of meta in that way.
yeah, but
It is.
with movies that are kind of like, making a commentary on something that is so specific to like our culture right now. And like, sure, I'm much like movies from the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s have done it too. I think this will have people still coming back to this kind of movie and being like, oh yeah, I understand what that commentary was. How do you guys kind of find the like balance within your characters of like, yeah, I have to make this timeless while also still making something very much a commentary on today's society?
Well, the way that I think about that is I don't think about the message as much as Dani thought about the message when she wrote it, maybe. But as an actor, I'm like, well, what does my character want? And what am I trying to do in this very moment? And what am I trying to get? I take away, or at least I try to take away, the image of the bigger ideological idea and try and make it about two people or my character wanting something from somebody else. So the more that I can take that away, the better it's going to be and the less preachy it's going to be. Because if I'm thinking about giving you a message, an ideological message, like I'm not playing my role. My role is to play Tom, not to play the preacher.
That would be funny if we went about life like that. Subliminally trying to always send the message.
You would be Hermes at that point, just like with wings, just like a Hermes flying around, being like, here's my message.
Yeah.
Dani, I do have to say you created, I think, like what is my ultimate dream of like writing your own screenplay, but also getting to star in it and kind of telling the story. Like, as I never want to direct myself, but I was like, I do want to write my own story and like star in it. I think that's kind of such a cool thing to have power over. is that something that you always wanted to do, or was it something like you wanted to tell the story and you're like, yeah, like I would kill this role, I am gonna play this, or like how did you kind of
Yeah.
come to that decision?
Yeah, it's a good question too. I tend to always write stuff for myself to act in. I've been veering more into the directing world, so I less so do that now. Now I write to direct.
Mhm.
But yeah, I wrote the role for myself because I was like, this is me. I've lived this story in a different way, based on an old web series that I did, taking Craigslist jobs. And
Mhm.
so yeah, the intent was always to act in it. And I knew I didn't want to direct because I didn't have any experience at that time. So it wasn't really a question of wanting to take that on, though some people do, which I think is insanely ambitious. So it was about finding someone that understood the story through and through and was really trying to, yeah, tell the same story that I was trying to tell. That's why when I met Sylvia, we were just completely aligned, and for me it was a no-brainer to bring her on. I was like, yeah, she gets it. She knows exactly what I'm going for. So then I was able to put my trust into her. And then
And
kind of just speak to your other question, sorry.
no, go ahead.
With writing it, I do feel like once you're on set, you really do have to let the script go. And the beauty of working with someone like Luke, because he comes with all his experience, is you really just, all I really had to do was play off of him. So I didn't really have
Mhm.
to have any premeditated ideas, other than the fact that I wrote the premeditated ideas. But yeah, you just kind of got to like throw them out the window and then just be in the moment.
Yeah. Dani was incredible at wearing different hats. I'm not going to let her compliment herself. I'm going to do the complimenting. She was incredible at wearing different hats. She could take the hat off of writer and put the hat on of actor, which is, I think, I've never done it, but it
Mhm.
seems like that would be the most necessary thing to be able to do, is to not wear all the hats at once, to make sure you're taking them off and putting them back on, etc. And she did an amazing job of that.
Yeah, and
Thanks.
for last quick question, I just have to ask, like, obviously, like, I love kind of looking at genre movies, especially with like with a male director and writer versus like a female writer and director, or however, because while I think they both have their merits, it is very different when you kind of break down like what a woman's point of view is in a horror movie versus like what a man would kind of do in the same situation. And so, Dani, for really quickly, like, what is kind of like for you, what is the joy of being a woman and getting to tell a story in the horror genre with a female director telling it with you?
I'm going to take this one. Go on, Dani.
So good. Yeah, I mean, I love supporting women in the genre field itself, because I think there could be more of them for sure. And there are now, there's a lot more popping up. But I mean, I think the same way as if I was a male, we explored every variation of it. We explored two women in the roles. I didn't really explore two men in the roles, but we did explore two women and what that would look like and how the script would change. And I don't know, it was just important for me to have that female male dynamic between the two. It would change quite vastly if it was two females, but I think at the end of the day, Sylvia and I really sat down and looked at mostly every possibility of where the script would go, and that's just what we landed on without having to change the whole thing from beginning to end. And I think for me, it's I try to support women in this industry as much as I can, and that pertains to crew, like crewing up, and trying to give women, the opportunity before taking men with more experience, and just, yeah, giving people opportunity.
So thank you guys so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
thanks.
Really
Have a
good
great one.
questions.
Yeah, thanks, Rach. Bye-bye.
Of course. Bye.